leaves or something?
Well, I got a phone call.
A Bolof. Be on the lookout for Leafs.
Through the chair, you're live on HCAM TV.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton. Okay, it's 7 o'clock. Yep. All right, it's 7 o'clock on the button, so we'll call the meeting to order. Let me read the preamble. We're still waiting for a couple commission members, but we have a quorum at this point. So, pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted via remote means. In accordance with applicable law, this means that members of the public body, as well as members of the public, may access this meeting via virtual means. Participants may access the meeting through the remote meeting link as posted on the meeting agenda and through the town's online calendar. When required by law or allowed by the chair, persons wishing to provide public comment or otherwise participate in the meeting may do so by raising their hand or otherwise signaling their intent to speak. This meeting is being recorded by HCAM. Please take care to mute your microphone unless you've been recognized by the chair. We'll now confirm attendance of members and staff. Please respond with present if you're on the call. Melissa?
Present.
Okay, hold on. There's a few people coming into the meeting, including Anna and Ted. All right, just bear with me here for a few minutes, folks. We have a bunch of people that just came in to the waiting room. Okay, Janine, are you present?
Yes, I am present.
Okay, thank you. Ed?
Yes, I'm here.
Ted?
Ted is present.
Jim?
Present.
Matt?
Present.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you, Matt. And for staff, Kim?
Present.
Anna?
Present.
And Joe?
Present.
Lucas Environmental. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, let's jump into the work session items. We have no documents for review. Draft minutes for August 8th and August 29th, 2023. Did everyone get a chance to take a look at those? I know they came in today, so folks may have not had a chance to review them.
This is Ed. I did get a chance to look at those from 8 August. And on the second page, under commission members discussion requests, there's a typo where I apparently stated that the roadway has cubs. and I suspect it's supposed to be an R in there and be curbs.
I was wondering what that was supposed to be. I saw the same thing.
And then secondly, Mr. Scott Goddard stated he'd be happy to discuss the culvert with Mr. Harrow and commission staff. And to my knowledge, that's never happened. And I'm not sure that's an address of what's in the minutes, but just a comment that that's not happening.
Okay, but it was stated that he was available, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. So whether or not that has happened, that wouldn't be addressed in the minutes anyways. But Anna, can we please just make that correction for Ed?
It's already done. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Just
Thank
saying if somebody actually reads them.
Jeff?
Gotta throw a little something in there every once in a while.
Absolutely. Yes, Ted.
I actually have a even smaller thing for Anna, and then one that might be more important, also August 8th. Right above the Cubs, Ed says that a turtle can't get through. A singular turtle. I think it probably was supposed to be turtles. So as long as we're making that correction. But more significantly, at the very end of the meeting, when we were talking to Mr. Gately, are you all set, Anna? I don't want to run ahead. Hang on. Sorry, everybody. There. At the very end, when we were talking to Mr. Gately, there's a line that says, Gately refuted getting credit. I'm sorry if I'm being high school teacherish, but that means he denied that he got credit. I think it should say something like Gately said he wasn't getting credit, is a more accurate reflection of what he was going for there.
Yep, that makes sense.
And I would
Thank you.
concur with Mr. Barker Hook's assessment. My mother was an English major.
So Ed, we're assuming that the turtles in plural is correct. There wasn't an individual turtle that reached out to you with concerns about not being able to cross the road.
Well, the actual situation was Jane Moran picked up a fair-sized snapping turtle. that was
Oh, so maybe
attempting
it
to
was
get
a turtle.
across there and found the curb was insurmountable, never mind the fence. And when I say fair size, by Jane's description, it was at least 2 feet in diameter. And if you've ever been around a snapping turtle, they're a thing that I don't like pick up.
No, they like to hiss when you pick them up, for sure.
Yeah, you haven't really messed with a snapping turtle then if you think all they do is hiss.
Okay, so if Anna, you've made those corrections to the minutes, presumably, so if we can get a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections as noted for
For both
August 8th
dates.
and August 29th,
I'll make that motion.
and a second, please.
I'll second.
All right, and unfortunately, we have to do the roll call vote since we're remote. So Melissa,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Matt.
I need to abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And I'm an aye. Okay,
Jeff,
yes.
it may be out of order, but I have a question about what I read in the August 28th, not an amendment to the minutes, but a follow-up.
Sure. Yep.
It said in the August 28 minutes that when we denied Mr. Hanrahan's request, that there would be an order issued to remove the mulch and the fabric underneath. Has he removed that?
Yeah, excellent question. So the deadline for that to take place just passed about a week ago. It just driving by, it appears that it may not have been done. So that is on my list to follow up with Mr. Harahan for.
Great, thank you. I noticed the same thing driving by, but I didn't get out to snoop. So
Yeah, I did
Thank
as
you.
well. And yeah, and just for clarification, those were August 29th minutes.
oh, not 28. Sorry, I wrote it down wrong.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so moving along on work session items, Prime Properties, Highland
Through the
Park
chair?
4. Yes.
Did you want to vote on the August 29th meeting minutes or?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So we had a motion to approve.
Through the
and a
chair,
sec-
I think your motion said both. No?
Yeah,
I
it
thought
did.
they also.
Yeah. Yep. Right.
Apologies.
So it was both. So the motion was both for August 8th and August 29th. I think Ted made the motion.
I seconded.
Yeah, Melissa second, and we did the roll call, and Matt abstained. Everyone else was in favor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, Prime Properties, Stony Brook Road, request for a 1-year extension permit. Kim, you want to give us a little bit of context on this one, please?
Sure. So this is the old subdivision order of conditions for the roadway and the drainage infrastructure. So the contractor reached out to us. They are scheduled to complete top coat and final grade on the road. It's mostly Stony Brook Road that we're talking about in that subsequent development. They need to clean out the catch basins, the detention basins, and they're working towards street acceptance in the spring of 2024. So I will keep an eye on that progress. I don't think that the town is going to accept the street until they provide that concluding stormwater cleanup. but I will keep an eye on it. So at this point, I would recommend extension of a year as requested.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kim. Questions, comments from the commission? Questions, comments from the audience? Okay, if I can get a motion to approve the 1-year request for the extension for Prime Properties, Stony Brook Road.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, and we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed, Ted,
aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. All right, thank you. Okay, Marusa 2 Peter Pecoro Drive. This is another request for a 1-year extension permit. Kim, you want to give us some background on this one as well?
Sure.
Please.
So this is an original order of conditions for the installation of a dock in Blood's Pond. It's a 50 square foot dock. The homeowner did install the dock, but had some kind of maintenance issue and needs to kind of like fix it. So she wants to keep the permit open. Part of the mitigation on that site was installation of plantings. So we said kind of before we issue your extension, can you put your plantings in? And then a couple months passed before we heard back from the homeowner, but we did hear back from the homeowner between our last meeting and now. We have proof of the plantings. Hopefully they survive. If they don't, we can deal with that in a year. So at this point, I would recommend issuing the extension of the permit.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Questions from the commission? Questions from the audience? Okay, if I can get a motion to approve the 1-year extension of the order of conditions for 2 Peter Pecoro Drive.
So moved.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
And we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, 7:12. We got time for one more. So 25 Stony Brook Road. This is a request for a certificate of compliance. Kim, can you just give us a little bit of background on this one, please?
Sure. So this is an order of conditions for a single family home on Stony Brook Road. So the homeowner filed the certificate of compliance at the beginning of 2023. Joe with Lucas went out, it looks like on February 16th, 2023. And one of their findings was that an area which was permitted to be restored with wildlife or conservation seed mix had been mowed recently. So you'll see kind of in the back, there's this area here that's behind the PIBs. These little dots here are the PIBs. And so the commission had permitted this area to be kind of a natural wildflower no-mow area. So after I got Lucas's results, I recommended to the homeowner to hold off and kind of explain the purpose of the PIB and, encourage, let's see what happens after a year of growth. So Anna was able to go out in early October and found the restoration or mitigation area to be significantly higher growth. There was no evidence of recent mowing at all during this past growing season. So there's a little bit more wild, but not really significant wildflower establishment. And I'll pull up some photos here for your viewing pleasure. I know that Joe also had some comments about the location of some of the PIBs. So I might bump it over to him while I pull up these photos.
Sure, Joe, can you give us your comments, please?
Yeah, let me look at that quickly. I had looked at the photos that Anna had taken, and there was, like Kim said, substantially better growth than the last time. It did appear to me that maybe there was a little bit of mowing that occurred beyond the PIB line, if you look at one of the photos. But let me see what my PIB marker comment was. I don't remember it off the top of my head. Okay, there was one missing. That was indicated on a 5-inch tree near the junction of the driveway in Stony Brook Road. I think that was, there was one additional PIB marker not indicated on the site plan on a 12-inch oak located just south of the western shrub planting area. So
there was one,
minor- one missing, one extra. Yep.
that just wasn't depicted on the site plan, Joe, is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, that's not a big deal. So I'm just looking at the photos. This is a COC request, but yet the silt fence is still present. I think that needs to be removed as part of the request. Correct?
Through the chair,
Yes, Anna.
the homeowners have removed the silt fence, and Kim, there should be a couple extra pictures that they sent that they did remove that after my visit in October.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. So, Kim, this is, kind of a recurring issue that we've had and that you and I have discussed with, wild flower, wild meadow areas kind of requested by the commission, but, beyond the PIB, but they seem to be getting mowed. Is there, in your view, kind of a lessons learned type of situation here where you think maybe we can, do something that's a little bit more appropriate?
Thanks for teeing me up, Jeff. There just seems to be like a pattern lately where we're seeing these wildflower areas be tough to establish. And, even when the homeowner is not actively mowing it, we're not seeing them get establishing very well, quite frankly. My theory is that, especially in these areas where we permit temporary disturbance, construction period disturbance, and then we want restoration, my theory is that, the contractor's hiring a hydro seeder or whatnot, and these areas are getting covered mostly with grass, and then they're going in afterwards, if they do, and saying, oh, conservation seed, and trying to put some conservation seed on it, which isn't helping things take. So even if the homeowner isn't mowing it, it's just not really taking. My recommendation would be to the commission, instead of doing this conservation wildflower area, I would just encourage shrub or tree plantings, probably shrub if it's close to the house, but within the buffer zone. And then that creates a little bit more of a stronger visual barrier in addition to the PIBs for the homeowner, and it gives it a little bit of back vegetation to reestablish. And I know that the purpose of the wildflower meadow areas is, to create that habitat for the birds and the bees, but it just seems to be unsuccessful in practice for a homeowner.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your thoughts are, but it just kind of stuck out to me as a pattern that I'm seeing on these permits that were issued and, around the same time that are now coming to COC.
Yeah. So in certain situations, Kim, it does make sense, right? Like Connolly Farms, there was that wetland meadow area that, there was, plantings that were proposed there where I think it makes sense, right? As part of a subdivision project, but maybe, for single family homes, it's not really practicable.
Yeah. And that one was already a wet meadow. We know it's going to get maintained because somebody's going to want to keep their view to that billboard. And it's not somebody's backyard. So that one I think really made sense and was a good instance to do a wet meadow. But in folks' backyards, like I said, I think is a challenge.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And, in this case, we can't really hold the developer's feet to the fire. because they've kind of moved on. It's the homeowner requesting the COC, so I don't think it's really fair to have them in this situation try to reestablish plantings in that area. So I think, this is kind of one of those situations, unfortunately, where it's a lesson learned type of situation. But let me open it up to the other commission members for comments or questions.
Jeff, I have a thing or two.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
First, Kim, I thought that I saw in one of the photos that there was still mowing beyond a PIB. Did I misread that photo? I thought I saw one.
You might be referring to 3395. That
3390 through the chair, 3394, I think shows it the best. Yeah.
So is it supposed to be like here to here? Are these shrubs supposed to be in the PIB area?
The tree in the back has a marker on it. The large tree just beyond the silt fence.
Ah, I see. Okay, so this section right here. Yep.
I don't know that would be enough for me to hold up voting approval, but I do think we need to let the homeowner know they're still not in compliance, even if they may then choose to ignore us. I know, because they have their certificate and they might say, well, forget it. But I still think they're out of compliance there. And that is something the homeowner can deal with without ripping up grass and replanting. The other thing was on the comment that I wanted to say was on Kim's comment. And I do think it's sad if we can't have pollinators, but I understand it's just not working. What would that mean for if we redid the property there at the top of Janine's neighborhood, where we asked them to leave strips unmowed and it continues to get mowed? If we redid that, would we be asking them now to put shrubbery in for that entire barrier that we wanted to be wet meadow grass, or would that be yet a different circumstance where we'd have to rethink our strategies?
You're referring to Oakhurst, One Oakhurst.
Oakhurst, thank you. I forgot the name of the road.
So can I respond to that?
Sure.
Absolutely. Kim.
So we did require shrubs installed. So the vegetated buffer was planted as shrubs. If the commission was looking to reestablish the wetland there, it would probably reestablish best as leave it alone, because there was a seed bank there and there was the hydrology to support it,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Right. So we did ask them, they did put the little shrub barrier, but there was supposed to be, 40 feet of no mow zone as well. And that just hasn't happened as near as I can tell over there.
Yeah.
So
And I've spoken to him several times, and
And there's a fence now, so it's hard to see what they're doing.
Oh, is that true? Okay, so if we redid that, we'd probably keep the same strategy and then just hope, a heavier hand would encourage compliance. I'm not really sure. It's just a frustrating situation to me. So I don't know how the lesson we're seeing in these photos might apply, if at all, to the Oakhurst problem.
without being a voting commission member, if I could go back in time and do Oakhurst and I was just thinking strictly about compliance, I would have had probably shrubs installed to discourage it from just being lawn and fire pit and
Right.
I was going to say the only, I feel like the way you might be able to get better compliance is just having a more substantial PIB and requiring a rock wall or requiring a fence, as opposed to just medallions that the contractor, the builder has to put that in. And then it goes into place, and then, maybe you have less chance that somebody's going to mow through a fence or a rock wall or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point, Melissa. Yeah, Ed, go ahead.
I have two comments, one of which is that, for the best details, you'd have to ask Cheryl, but I helped her. We had an area in the backyard that was grass. It is now a wildflower meadow. And we did that this year by gently digging at it and removing the grass and then planting appropriate stuff, which I couldn't tell you what it was, but she could. And it did exactly what it was supposed to do. The second thing is with the comments that were just made about mowing and barriers, we have an open space on Whisper Way. We had stones on the boundary that were probably 6 or 7 feet apart, substantial stones. And glory be, the lawn crept right through that several feet. And so now 20th Century Homes has put in stakes with open space markers on them. And I know that a phone call was received from the homeowner, but I haven't actually heard their comments, and they apparently will be coming to the open space meeting on Thursday. So as Melissa said, a couple of sticks in the ground with a medallion on it doesn't cut it. Or maybe it does cut it, depending on how you look at it. Anyway, that's it.
I'm sorry to derail us. I was just curious how we carry lessons forward to other properties.
No, that was a good comment, Ted. And I think with regard to Oakhurst Road, our kind of, thoughts on how we're going to address areas, along the lake are kind of evolving. I don't know, it was a few months ago that we brought up some plans. I think it was from the Vermont Department of Environmental Management, where they had recommended, different types of planting scenarios along lakes. And it wasn't, specific to, it wasn't lawn or not lawn, but meadow, but more plantings, shrubs, trees, that type of thing. So, there we go. Thank you, Kim. So that's kind of the direction that we're going in. And, I don't want to,
Right there. That's what we should have done.
yeah, exactly. Something, along those lines, rather than just a meadow area. And, Kim can fill us all in at a later point in time, but she's working on a grant to have a piece of property that the town owns on the lake, where she's proposing a kind of model like this, where, we're going to do the plantings and we can point to, folks who are doing development, on their home or property along the lake. And we can point to that and say, this is kind of the template that we're looking for. So
that's a great idea.
Yeah, that was, we can all thank Kim for that. She was.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. It's awesome.
It hasn't happened yet.
It's in the
Hey,
works.
Jeff,
Yeah,
I could just chime in, not relative to any of these specifically, but I absolutely think that medallions by themselves on posts in the ground are not enough, and it needs to be at least, large boulders, armor stone, or some other hard barrier. I mean, the rocks are fine because people generally aren't going to move them and get around them, but I would agree. No, not just medallions anymore.
All right. I think that all makes sense. Kim, can we put that on the agenda for a future meeting to kind of discuss that?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, so with regard to the COC for 25 Stony Brook Road, is there a motion to approve the request?
I'll make the motion.
And a
I'll
second?
second. I'll second.
Okay. And we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay. All right, we got to move along now. We're running a little behind schedule to the new hearings. So the first one is Town of Hopkinton 90 and 104 Hayden Row and 0 McDermott Lane. This is an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. So the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 at 7 o'clock, virtually online, to hear all persons interested in an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by the town of Hopkinton to determine the limits and regulatory status of on-site wetland resources. The location is portion of 90 Hayden Row, 104 Hayden Row, and 0 McDermott Lane. Okay. Joe, did you want to give us your comments on this, please?
Sure. I went out and then reviewed the entire delineated line, and I thought the flags in general looked accurate. There's one location around flags A41 and 42 where I thought the flags were maybe about 9 feet low, and I would recommend bumping it up there about that distance. I also noted there were 2 flags labeled A28 on the site plan, with the second of those actually corresponding to flag A30 in the field, just to clarify. I did also note that there is a mapped perennial stream located north of the, roughly along the northern property boundary. It's not on the older USGS map, but it is on the current USGS maps. That was not delineated. It's within, certainly within 200 feet of the property line. So I'd recommend that that be looked at, and the mean high water line delineated at that stream. I would agree with the applicant's assertion that the stormwater basins at the site appear non-jurisdictional based on the information they provided on when they were constructed. And I did also note that there were 2 apparently recent soil test pits appear to be that were located within the wetland near flags A4 and A14-15. I didn't know if there was any conversation about any allowing those to be done. And a couple of minor inconsistencies on the UVW forms, which didn't really change any of the results. And as far as the site plan, the only revision really is the numbering on that 1 flag, and the mean high water perennial stream be added after that's delineated, looked at in the field. And that was it.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Do we have someone on the call from BSC?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, for the record, Claire Hogebone with LEC Environmental Consultants. We're the representative on this, ANRAD.
Oh, okay, great. Hi, Claire.
Hi.
You heard Joe's comments on behalf of the commission, and just wanted to give you a chance to address those.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate Joe's review and his diligent review on everything that we put together. I think most of his comments make sense to me. We absolutely, mistakenly used an old USGS map, so that's on us. I appreciate him catching that for us. So we are fully prepared to get out into the field and evaluate that perennial stream and flag mean annual high water as appropriate to get the riverfront area onto the site. So I touched base with Kim, and she allowed me to reach out to Joe and keep her and Anna in the loop so we can coordinate our field review together. So hopefully we can plan that in the coming weeks, and we can address the flag discrepancy in the wetland and have Joe take a look at the stream boundaries after we get some flags up.
Okay, great. Thank you, Claire. So just a quick question. So the plan says BSC Group.
Yes, that was the surveying firm that survey located our flags and put the plan together.
Got it. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Of course.
Okay, so there's a few loose ends that need to be tied up, but let me open it up to comments and questions from the commission. if there are any at this point. Okay, questions or comments from the audience? Okay, so Claire, our next meeting is December 5th. Or does that sound good to you? We'll continue this out to that meeting.
Yes, that would be excellent.
Okay, great. So if I can get a motion to continue the hearing until December 5th, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so Jim made the motion. Who was the second? Sorry.
Matt.
Okay,
Matt made the second.
thank you. And we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Matt,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, great. Thank you, folks.
Through the
Thank
chair,
you
this
all.
is Ed. I have to relocate. I won't be away. Hang on. I'll be right back.
All right, thank you, Claire. Okay, so Wall Street Development, 12 North Mill Street. It's also an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation that's been continued to
the chair?
December 5th. Yep,
Sorry, it's just we do have to open the hearing because it's the first night, and then we can continue without discussion.
okay, yep, sorry. So let me read it. Popular and Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 at 7, virtually online, to hear all persons interested in abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by Wall Street Development to determine the limits and regulatory status of on-site wetland resources. The location is 12 North Mill Street. So if I can get a motion to continue this to December 5th, please.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Matt, thank you. And we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Ed, Matt,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay. All right. BWC Echo Lake LLC 0 Chestnut Street, an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation. And I need to read this one. Upland Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 at 7. Virtually online, to hear all persons interested in an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation filed by BWC Echo Lake to determine the limits and regulatory status of on-site wetland resources. The location is 0 Chestnut Street. All right, good evening. Do we have a representative from BSC?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Andrew Gorman from Beals and Thomas here on behalf of BWC Echo Lake LLC. Also joined with me on behalf of the applicant this evening is Michael Z. and Kat Himmelberger. And we are here seeking an order of resource area delineation to confirm wetland resource area boundaries on the property, specifically bordering vegetated wetland, isolated vegetated wetland, and bank delineations at 0 Chestnut Street. I believe the plan is shown on the screen here. We have Kimball Road, just for orientation, to our west, Ash Street to our direct north, and then Chestnut Street to the northwest of the property. The site is a combination of forested and open areas. There's a fairly navigable understory, and again, we're looking for confirmation of the bordering vegetated wetlands, which occupy the west and easterly portions of the property, as well as the isolated vegetated wetlands. They're in the purple magenta color, kind of central on the property in the north and the south. And then select portions of the bank, which traverses and spans through that westerly BVW, and then also another 2 more bank delineations to the west of that. So we understand that the commission oftentimes leans on the peer review services of Lucas Environmental, and we have received the quote for those services, and I believe The check has been sent to the commission earlier this week, and we would like to open the floor to the commission for questions. And we understand that there's going to be an opportunity for a site visit for these wetland delineations to undergo some scrutiny in the field. So I would like to invite the commission to ask any questions.
Okay, great. Thank you, Andrew. So as you mentioned, Lucas has not had an opportunity to review the resource area delineation as presented. But this was the area subject to the forest cutting plan that occurred earlier this year, correct, Andrew?
That's as I understand it, but I do want to stress that that's independent of this ANRAD filing. We're strictly seeking a regulatory confirmation on the wetland boundaries.
Got it. Yep. Okay. Kim, did you have anything to add at this point on this?
I don't have anything to add at this point, no.
Okay, great. Are there any questions or comments from commission members at this point?
Through the chair, I do have a question about the isolated vegetated wetlands.
Yes, Matt.
I didn't notice anything in the filing determining whether or not those areas would be considered isolated land subject to flooding, and would request that the applicant provide that documentation for review.
So at this time, if I may respond, Mr. Chairman, at this time, we're not seeking confirmation as to whether or not they would meet the status of isolated land subject to flooding. That would be a separate engineering calculation. I think the assumption is that regardless of whether or not they would calculate, or the numbers would add up to them having the storage capacity to being ILSF, irregardless, they're still jurisdictional under the Hopkinton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. So that's our intent for confirming them as isolated vegetated wetlands, but I'm certainly open to hearing the commission's position on that.
Let me defer to Kim and or Joe on that.
Yeah, I would just add that I try to be very specific in the way that I write the ANRAD findings. I confirm specific flag numbers with specific jurisdictional statuses under both the bylaw and the Wetlands Protection Act. So I do feel confident that based on the detail in the order that we can confirm certain jurisdictions and not necessarily make findings on other jurisdictions. That would be my take.
Through the chair.
Yes, Joe.
Yeah, just as a note, it is also possible for isolated land subject to flooding to extend beyond the IVW boundary if it's a temporary flooding that occurs. It's not long-term enough to create wetland conditions.
Okay. So with that, so Joe, with regard to that comment, would that mean that the resource area delineation could be larger than what's presented here on the plan?
Correct.
More expansive.
It could be right. I mean, you have to look at the site and the topo and see if there's any evidence of ponding or flooding beyond the boundary of what qualifies as wetland.
Okay, so I guess Matt, thanks for that comment. I would just encourage Joe and Andrew to kind of work together to delineate what's appropriate at the site with regard to that.
Certainly, and I'll convey that to internally and see if we can look at the numbers and see where they pan out. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are there questions or comments from commission members? Additional comments, sorry.
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
We can, yes. Name and address, please.
Michael Cooper, 25 Smith Road.
Thank you, Michael. Yes.
As someone that I know I've been part of this project now as an abutter or partially an abutter, I have a couple of questions and a couple of comments. The first is it's a little confusing with this area because there's a number of different parcels. So Zero Chestnut, you know, at different times, the solar company has talked about a variety of different parcels possibly being used, not being used. And it's a little hard to distinguish exactly which parcels are which. My understanding is only 2 parcels involved in this, and that they're not going to be looking at the parcel west of the power lines.
Through the chair, if I may, at this time, our filing does not encompass any wetland resource areas to the west of the power lines. It's, you know, mapped by Mass GIS and Mass DEP that the bordering vegetated wetlands extend to the west of the power lines. We're not, you know, trying to render an opinion one way or the other on that. It's just, it's not part of our filing with this, but thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. So Michael, this filing that is before the commission tonight is for, excuse me for a second. Let's look at the, so it's for Zero Chestnut Street. And the specific parcels or assessors map R25 block 31 lot 0 and assessors map R31 block 4 lot A. And what the applicant is doing with the filing tonight as part of the resource area delineation is just identifying resource areas under the commission's jurisdiction on those 2 particular parcels. You know, that would be subject to any future development that would occur on the 2 parcels, if that makes sense.
Okay, so if they were to expand from any of those other parcels, they would have to go through this whole process essentially?
They would have to submit a resource area delineation for those other parcels, correct?
Okay. And then, so thank you for clarifying that. My second kind of question is, you know, as we all know, this parcel or parcels have been pretty hotly contested over the last 6 months. Given the history of what's gone on with this, you know, they still won't claim it's a solar project and refuse to do that. You know, less than 6 months ago when they cut down thousands of trees. So my other question is the fact that literally thousands of trees have basically been clear cut over that, you know, 60 plus acres of those parcels there. How is that going to affect, and can true wetland delineations be made in such a short period of time when such an extreme amount of vegetation has been removed? So
yes, so thank you. So yes, for the latter question, you know, we can delineate the wetland resources even though, you know, a substantial amount of clear cutting has gone on at the property. The delineation, I'll defer to the experts on this, but, you know, it's based on hydric soils, vegetation around the wetland areas. So, you know, we can accurately, and most of the clear cutting that was done was trees, not all the vegetation. So, so yes, the resource areas can be accurately identified, even though the clear cutting has been done. So to answer the first question, this is simply an exercise in identifying the resource areas on the property. Whether or not this will proceed as a solar farm is, you know, that submission hasn't been provided to the commission. That would be under another filing, which would be a notice of intent. And, you know, if that is the case going forward, if there is a solar farm that is proposed. The commission is aware of the forest cutting plan that has been implemented at the site. And mitigation will be, if whatever future development is proposed here, if any, the commission will look at mitigation appropriately. Tim or Joe, did you have any additional information to provide?
No, I think you stated it pretty accurately. We rely a little more heavily on soils, maybe, and it's a little more challenging without the tree cover. But it is certainly possible to delineate with an area that's been cut.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, so Michael, does that answer your question or questions?
It does. My only other comment, I think, would just be that, as for the past 3+ years now, this company and owner or trust essentially that owns it has been anything but forthcoming with what's going on here. They've specifically done things, as this commission knows, to subvert the will of the town by, for instance, filing a housing development plan to avoid potential bylaw changes, illegal as it may be, specifically wanting to do that a couple years ago, to using this state forest cutting permit to be able to clear cut these things without the input from this commission, and basically said they, didn't want any input from this commission and really didn't allow any input from the commission when all those trees were cut down. So I would just really caution the commission that as this process goes forward, to really take a hard look at what's going on here. I know many of you are aware of that, as most of us neighbors and abutters are, but they have been anything but truthful and forthcoming, and clearly this process of the solar has been going on for 3 years now, even though they completely denied it in order to cut down all those trees and circumvent the will of this commission. So I guess I just would really hope that you would all take that with a grain of salt and see what's happened over the last 3 years and this destruction that's happened back there without the input of abutters, neighbors, or the Conservation Commission. So thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. And, the commission is aware of the situation out at this property. And, we will take a very hard look on all of the filings related to this project, as we do with all filings in the town of Hopkinton. We'll leave it at that at this point. But, we are, as I said, we're aware of what's going on out there. Thank you. Questions, comments from commission members? Are there questions or comments from other folks in the audience? Okay, if I can get a motion to continue this. Andrew, our next meeting is December 5th. Is that going to give you enough time to address the comments? Or actually, excuse me. So Joe, December 5th, are you going to have time to go out and take a look at this and have your comments to the applicant by December 5th? I guess is the appropriate question.
Yeah, that might be tough. I know next week is a short week.
Yeah, we got the holiday.
Yeah, with the holiday, I would think that it would be maybe that week that we might be able to schedule something out there. So I can't say for certain, but I think it might be pretty tight to try and get out there and look at the entire site before the next meeting.
Okay, so Andrew, is December 19th okay with you folks?
Yep, we can reserve the 19th for the next hearing, understanding that we still have to get out there, do the review, and accommodate any plan changes that may or may not occur from that. Yep.
Yeah, that gives you guys some wiggle room to, for Joe to, Lucas to go out, take a look at it, address any comments that they might have. So
And
that's probably, trying to squeeze it in, and then during a holiday, week, I think is going to be tough. So if it's okay with you, we'll continue this out to the 19th.
If I may ask one question, though, is it the commission's preference for us to interface with Joe directly from this point forward, or do you prefer it to continue to go through Kim and Anna?
It needs, you can communicate with Joe, but please copy Kim and Anna on any communication so that they're in the loop.
Okay, thank you.
Kim, is that appropriate? And
Yep,
you good
that's
with
how we
that?
do it. Mhm.
Yep. Okay. Okay, so is there a motion to continue the hearing to December 19th, please?
So moved.
So moved.
And a second.
So,
All right, and we'll do so who made the second? Was that Jim? Sorry. Just so Anna knows.
yeah,
I had
Ed made the
Jim
motion.
as a first and Ed as a second.
Okay.
there you go. That
Anna.
works.
All right, we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Jim,
All right.
Ed,
Aye.
Matt.
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Thank
Okay,
you.
great. Thank you, folks. All right. Moving along to continued hearings, Rebel Hill LLC. This was the request for reconsideration under the bylaw. And Kim, this is kind of an administrative
Yes.
an administrative issue that we have to just handle here with closing this out. So you want to give us some background, please?
Yep. So quick refresher, the commission voted to issue orders of conditions as a denial under the bylaw and an approval under the Wetlands Protection Act. The applicant requested reconsideration under our bylaw. The commission held a public meeting on October 10th. And then on October 16th, the applicant requested withdrawal without prejudice of the reconsideration. It's my understanding that the commission cannot grant a withdrawal specifically without prejudice because the commission voted to issue a denial already on September 15th, 2023. So what I'm recommending to close this loop tonight is that the commission accepts the withdrawal of the request for reconsideration and finalize the denial order of conditions under the bylaw. I could not think of a more confusing situation. So if you have any questions, let me know.
No, that I think that was you clarified that very well for us, but are there any questions from the commission members?
Yes, this is Janine. So this is still just a withdrawal of 188 and 190. The revised plan for just one of the lots is still ongoing, or are they withdrawing that too?
They want to withdraw the entire reconsideration process.
Okay, thank you.
So that would be both lots.
Mm-hmm. So by withdrawing the reconsideration, we can't withdraw the whole application because we already issued a finding on it. You know what I'm saying? So I think we need to allow the withdrawing of the reconsideration, but finalize rather the denial that we already issued.
That makes sense to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Question, sorry, Jim, did you have a comment?
No, it makes sense to me. Thank you.
Okay. All right, questions or comments from the audience? So if I can get a motion to accept the request for reconsideration and finalize the denial, is that the appropriate?
No, so we want to accept the withdrawal of the request for reconsideration and
Right.
finalize the denial.
Thank you, Kim. So accept the withdrawal of the request for reconsideration and finalize the denial.
Mm-hmm.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
And we'll do the roll call vote. Janine,
Aye.
Melissa,
Aye.
Matt.
I need to abstain. This predated me.
Yep, you predated, right? Thank you, Matt. Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
and I'm an aye. All right. Okay, so Hopkins Stone and Garden, that's been continued to December 19th. And we'll move on to Toll Brothers, 11 Fitch Ave. This is a continuation of a notice of intent for a single-family house. Mr. Merchant, are you on the call?
I am, and I believe Matt Ashley with Bowler is here too, who can present the plan as it's been reconfigured.
Great. Good evening, Matt.
Thank you. Matt Ashley with Bowler. So we are down to the last lot here, lot 47 or 11 Fitch Ave, Anna. Make sure I get the address in there for you. In the weeks prior to this, us and Toll Brothers went to the planning board and submitted the A&R plan to officially combined Adam Street with the surrounding lots, so it's no longer a paper road, and that was put into addition of the conservation area behind, and with that, the exception was, the lot 47, 11 Fitch Ave absorbed that width of the road at the request of the conservation board, and we pushed the house over to the setback line, which brought down our impacts to the buffer from about 1,800 to 900, so about 50%, getting it out of the buffer there. Other than that, everything else has stayed the same for this property that we already discussed.
So the buffer zone disturbance goes from 1,800 square feet to 900 square feet on this particular lot.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, that sounds good to me. Questions, comments from commission members?
I have what I think is a quick one, Jeff.
Yep, go ahead, Ted.
So I just want to confirm, this was, I believe, proposed to be the smallest house in the development, at least for the part we looked at. Is that true?
Yes.
And the house side has not changed. You said nothing has changed except it's slid over. Yes?
The house side, yeah, stayed the same from the prior plan.
Okay. I just wanted to double confirm that, triple confirm. Thank you. That's it.
Thanks, Ted. Other comments from commission members? Comments from the audience? Okay, if I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent for 11 Fitch Ave.
Ted will make that motion.
And a second, please.
I'll second. It's Matt.
All right, we'll do the roll call votes. Janine?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, great. So I think this is the last lot in the subdivision, correct, Mr. Merchant?
The last one that we intend to bring in front of you, yes.
Awesome. Okay, so, just, on behalf, I want to thank you and Toll Brothers, on behalf of the commission and the town for, kind of stepping up and improving the stormwater infrastructure upgrades at the property, at the subdivision, and for, minimizing buffer zone impacts for the additional lots. We really appreciate it. And thank you again.
You're welcome. We look forward to being in town, to continue being in town.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. So moving along to our work session items, Maspinock Woods, West Elm Street. This is a request for a certificate of compliance. Kim, did you want to give us some background on this one, please?
Sure. I'm not so good at multitasking, so you may not have to wait for a plan.
No problem.
So this is Maspinock Woods development, which is a condominium development. There was 2 different orders of conditions. So basically an order of conditions was approved. It was allowed to lapse, and then the commission required that the applicant refile. So that's why we have 2 different DEP file numbers, and we're looking to close out both. I believe that Lucas Environmental went out over the summer and provided some comments, and the applicant's representative just responded back. So I'm going to bump it over to Lucas for their comments and their findings.
Thank you, Kim. Joe, you still with us?
Yep, still there. Yeah, we did see the responses to our comments. So the applicant went out and looked at some of the areas where I thought that some of the required plantings were either missing or looked thin. And one of those was area 4B, which was had been more recently planted. And I thought I looked at that area pretty well. There weren't a lot of plants out there. But I came up with my count. I had a few missing plants. They went out and took some photos and found the additional plants. So maybe I didn't go far enough down that path in what I looked at. The other area was, I think they had referred to it as 4A in their response. I mean 4B, I think it's 4A, the one that runs along the top or the side of the stormwater berm. That's that long one that you see on the screen. And there were about 100 plants, shrubs proposed in that area. And the vegetative growth was pretty thick, so I didn't actually go out and count everything. I just didn't have the ability to spend an entire day out there to count all the plants or try to count them. But it was my general impression that in looking at that it was thin on what was proposed.
It was sorry, Joe. It was thin on what was proposed?
Thin on the number of plants were thin, not 100 plants. And the applicant responded that the plants had been planted. I don't know that anything was submitted previously in this project as far as monitoring or photographs of the plantings. I think also in looking at some of my photographs from when I was on site that I may have been looking more at the top of the berm and not as much at the back slope of the berm. There certainly is some thicker shrub growth on the back slope of the berm. The top of the berm is as you can see there, primarily herbaceous vegetation and not much shrub growth. If you look along the left edge of the berm, that's the backside, there is more tree and shrub growth in there. But at this point, I can't say with any certainty that, the adequate number of plants was put in without actually going out and looking at it again and doing a count.
But it looks like it's
well vegetated. It's well vegetated.
Yeah, it looks like it's well vegetated.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Duff. Sorry, I muted you. We were just getting some background feedback there, so I apologize.
Understood.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may comment, we did go back out there. Joe did go out and made some letter in August, I believe, 18th, and one of the concerns was the vegetation was, he didn't seem to think that was sufficient. We did go back out there with the landscaper. We did identify the two areas: 4A, which is the large area behind the basin, 4B, which is the water line which crosses from the project over to West Elm Street. Both sites we found the vegetation that I think that was asked for. In our response letter of October 18th, we included the invoice from the nursery to the landscaper, which had all the plant counts on there. This is similar to the situation on the single-family house to the left. That was a separate filing. We did provide a planting list, which agreed with what was supposed to be done with the order of conditions. So we feel that the plantings are out there. We did identify them in our report, a couple of the different ones. As Joe did allude to, the area, especially behind the basin, is very well vegetated, dense. So we feel that it does comply with the requirements of the order of conditions as it is.
Okay.
So we'd like a favorable consideration issuing the order of condition certificate of compliance. Excuse me.
Yeah. So
through the chair.
Yes, Joe.
I just wanted to note that there are some patches of some fairly significant Oriental bittersweet and some invasives growing in those areas, just to make the commission aware of that.
On the berm there.
Yeah, in the planting areas. Yeah. Okay, so
either Joe, Kim, if you can refresh my memory, I don't think we requested a invasive management plan as part of this filing. Or invasive.
That's correct, Mr. Chairperson.
Chairperson. Okay, thank you. Okay, so is the boathouse still there?
Yes, the boathouse over to the left of the project.
Yeah,
everything has been. I believe everything that was approved, petition submitted for approval has been constructed at this time. With all the buildings are done, everything's been paved. Boathouse is in, the trails are in. The markers have all been installed, as is there is a stone barrier around the perimeter that is called out.
In the path, in the recreational path that's installed right around the perimeter.
Yes, it runs down from the beginning, wraps around the basin area, comes up, and then exits up here behind one of the houses.
Okay, and then last question. The other filing, the single family home on West Elm,
yes.
Was the erosion controls removed on that property?
So they have been removed. We did get the certificate of compliance. That was one of the requirements. I did tell Kim that they were removed. I sent over some pictures showing it was mostly along the water line, which runs as you face the house on the left side, runs by the house and onto West Elm Street.
Okay, so those have been removed. Those have been removed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Quick. Yes.
Yeah, I did note in my report that on July 13th, there were still erosion control barriers present in the field.
Yeah, on that single family home, right? And have you been out there?
I have not been out there since then, but they remained in place at the site. Yeah.
When was the certificate of compliance issued for this? Kim, do you know? Sorry.
For the single family house? Hang on, I have a spreadsheet. Hang on.
I just want to, because I think that I drove by there a few weeks ago, and the erosion controls seem to still be there. I might
The
be.
single family house, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe we removed them, and I think I did send pictures to Kim that showed that they had been removed.
Okay.
Near the single family house.
Okay. Well, I guess I would just ask if they're still there. Can you guys please remove those?
No, without a question, they can be removed.
If they're still there.
Through the chair?
Yep. Kim.
Looks like the COC was August 4th.
Okay.
And I did also just want to mention that I did just realize that I do not have in my files copies of the stormwater system inspections as required, the annual inspections by the HOA. So it looks like they might have been finished in early 2021. So we should have at least 2 reports at this point. That may be something to collect before issuing the COC, just so that we have an appropriate homeowners association contact, and so that they're also aware of their responsibilities to maintain the stormwater infrastructure.
Yeah, I agree. I think that makes sense, Kim. So, Mr. Duff, if we can get those 2 reports, the annual reports for 2022 and 2023, and the contact information for the HOA, and then I think we can close this out at our next meeting, pending the submittal of those documents.
Okay, so you just need a report. We did a similar one to another project in town. The next meeting is December 5th.
Correct.
Is that correct? And
yes.
Okay, yeah. So we need to provide the report from the HOA to the commission, similar to the other project we worked on. Hunter Ridge, I believe, is the one.
Yep. Okay. And, once we have those documents as part of the project file, we can issue the COC at the December 5th meeting.
The chair.
Yes, Ted.
May I get a clarification on something, please?
Absolutely.
On the plantings on the berm, I understand that we did not have an invasives management plan. But I thought I heard Joe say the plantings that are out there might not match what was in the plan we're looking at, and yet it is heavily vegetated. Is it heavily vegetated with invasives? Joe mentioned that there were plenty of invasives, and it seems to me that's a different question about whether there's an invasives management plan or not.
Through the chair?
Yep, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, it's heavily vegetated with natives and patches of invasives. It's not all invasives. Yeah.
So by patches, can you qualify that for us?
Let me see if I have any notes on actual locations. I would have to refer to my field.
I mean, are we talking about a few invasive plants? Or...
I think my recollection is it was there were several areas of fairly dense Oriental bittersweet.
So
the chair.
I think that would be a problem for me, Jeff.
Well,
that's different from an invasives management plan.
Well, and I also do. I notice in your report, Joe. To the chair, it's on the it's near the detention basin. So should there be concerns that spreads into the detention basin and affects the function of it if it's filling up with invasives and can no longer maintain the stormwater?
Through the chair, this is Ed, who's waiting patiently.
Yes, Ed.
I would just point out that a few small patches of bittersweet, when left on their own, rapidly turn into a large patch of bittersweet.
Thank you, Ed. So I guess the question, Mr. Duff, is I don't know if there was a invasive management plan required at Hunter's Ridge. I don't believe there was, is my recollection, but it's been a few years. But can we get that addressed prior to issuing the certificate of compliance?
I guess, well, you looking for something, a preventive maintenance plan through the HOA?
Yeah, if we can get a maintenance
As part of
plan,
it,
a maintenance plan, through the HOA, that the HOA is committed to, for managing the
managing the
invasives.
basins
Yeah,
and all the
if you can work with
infrastructure.
them, yeah.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to get it going. You are requesting those reports. We'll have to get those into the process, and then this would have to be part of it.
Kim, do we have an invasive management plan on file for another property that perhaps they could use as kind of a template?
I can find something.
That may just help expedite, the process for the applicant. So if we can send that to him, get the HOA to commit to it, I think that would be helpful. Does that make sense, Kim?
I guess my only question is, are you looking for managing invasives specifically for stormwater infrastructure or for the whole site?
I think for the whole site, right? Would be because for the stormwater, it would just be around that one detention basin, not across the whole berm, right?
Well, we would probably, since chairman, we would probably look, at the site and, you got the species and stuff around the berm area. Then as you get away from that into behind the trail, it's pretty much in, wooded areas and such. But we could look at that and see, because it is a big piece of land, got a lot of open space, about 8 acres.
Mm-hmm. Does that make sense, Kim, or are we, kind of overreaching with our jurisdiction, looking at the whole site?
Well, that's a loaded question. No, I mean, that makes sense. And speaking about jurisdiction, it extends usually to the edge of the buffer zone, but it looks like most of the areas that have any kind of vegetation in them are within our buffer. So, right. I mean, I can provide the applicant with general information about managing specific invasive species. I guess I would just encourage them to, create a plan that's site specific without going out to their site and knowing the specific challenges and sensitivities of each location. I just want them to be aware that whatever information, generic information I send along needs to be adapted to the site.
Does that make sense, Mr. Duff?
Honestly, we'll have to talk to, once Kim gets us some of that information, and at that time get back and further discuss.
Okay, perfect. And, feel free to reach out to Mr. Harrow, who's on the commission. He's kind of our resident expert on invasives. He might be able to provide some information to you that can help you out. Ed, you good with that?
Slash and burn. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Duff.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. So if I can get a motion to, well, do we need to vote to continue this, Kim? I don't think we do, right?
No.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chair, we are on for the December 5th currently.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. You're welcome. Okay, 22 South Street, 169 West Main. This was a violation discussion for Hopkins Square. Kim, you want to give us some flavor on this one?
Sure. Let me pull up some background information.
This is the Price Chopper development. We had some landscapers go in there and get a little ambitious with some of the landscaping that they did in the buffer zone.
Pull out the original plan.
I wish they would pick up some of the litter around the property while they were out there doing the landscaping, but I guess that's just me.
Here we go. Okay. So on Wednesday, October 18th, a Concom member reported observations of mowing occurring within the buffer zone at the Hopkinton Square, aka the Price Chopper Plaza. So there's a stream that runs along South Street. There was a permitted crossing, and then it runs under the crossing and then discharges across West Main Street. So this area in green here was a buffer zone restoration area. And so we observed the vegetation removal within the buffer zone restoration area. The Concom member asked the landscaper to stop the work mid-work. So I went out and I observed it on October 19th. I can bring up some photos. There was pretty substantial removal of the herbaceous layer, the shrub layer. I could see that there was some decent diameter stumps that were cut. So you can see here the stream. I did notice that there was some purposeful leaving of certain shrubs, certain native shrubs like silky dogwood there. Cattails survived. You can see that whole slope there was previously vegetated. This is kind of looking down towards, this is West Main Street, that's South Street. And then you can see here, this is all removed vegetation. And then the abandoned rake from the hasty exit. This is bittersweet in the trees. So you can see where there's definitely some invasive. I'm not sure what I was going for there. So yeah, so I was able to get into touch with the landowner, Mr. Chuck Joseph. So I met with Chuck Joseph and Scott of Scott's Landscaping out there on 10/30 to talk about the removal that took place. He indicated that most of the majority of the species that they removed were sumac, which based on a 2020 Ecotech report, it does seem like that's somewhat probably was what was there. Yeah, a 2020 report by Ecotech identified the buffer zone as being dominated with red maple, smooth sumac, red cedar, sweet fern, grasses, goldenrods, grape, and Virginia creeper, and was described as fully vegetated and healthy. I do want to point out that the order of conditions for the site allows for the management of vegetation within the buffer zone restoration area, and it specifies removal of vines, cutting of dead and dying trees to make snags, and quote, thinning of living trees to open visibility, and trimming of trees to a height of 12 to 14 feet above ground surface. And then it goes on to specify that invasive species management is also permitted. I've also since been informed, I wasn't aware, but I understand that this type of cutting also took place in 2022 over the summer. I was on leave at that point, but I know that there was some contact by our office by Anna to the landowner at that point as well. So this is kind of where we're at. wanted to see what the commission thought of this situation.
Yeah, so thank you for the background, Kim. So the property owner has been notified, met with Kim on site, correct, Kim? You kind of walked them through with their landscaper, what they're allowed to do. So, I'm not sure what the commission wants to do at this point, but I will open up to discussion.
Through the chair. So I don't remember discussing the violation a year ago. I don't know if we did or not, but I guess what was the result of that violation? Were they told then that this is how you're supposed to manage it and this is what you can and can't do, and then they went ahead and did it anyway?
So Anna, I think that if you can jump in here, I know that you provided at least a letter to the landowner, right?
Correct. Yep. Jeff and I worked on a landowner with Sue, who was filling in for Kim at that time. We did send them a letter as well as a copy of the order, and they responded that they believed that they were in compliance with the order at that time. That was the response. We did not discuss it with the commission at that time.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think the recommendation, Anna, in your letter was, there was some work done in the buffer zone. We would recommend that, if future work is done, that you contact the commission prior to doing the landscaping work. Is that correct?
I believe that was part of the discussion back and forth with us, and I don't remember off the top of my head if that finalized, please notify us again, got back to the owner. There was, okay. I think some of it was via email, some of it was phone calls. Yeah. And it was a little hectic at that time, so I do apologize.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I mean,
looking at the letter, I think it just said it would be helpful if they let us know, so it doesn't look like they were, told to let us know and they didn't. So
correct. Correct.
It looks like they have outstanding stormwater reports.
I was going to say you should let them loose on some of the basins in town that are overgrown. They need cleaned out.
Yeah, really.
Are there markers out there to remind them that this is buffer zone?
So I did find some on my initial inspection, and then Anna went out again today, and the applicant had installed the additional missing markers. They are, however, on, those little temporary stakes with the little PIVs. So installed, but I'm not sure that I would classify them as completely permanent. So there's a PIB on a tree. And there's a new PIB there, one of those guys.
That'll be gone in 3 weeks. Okay, so I guess, Kim, I'm thinking that we don't need to issue a violation letter in this case. I think it's been addressed. You talked to the owner. He installed the PIBs, whether or not those are adequate. But that's kind of my sense. We'll just monitor this development going forward. I don't know. Does that make sense to everyone? It's a pretty high profile area, so it's not like they're going to be able to go in there and get away with something without someone driving by and noticing from the commission, I would think.
Through the chair, is there a way that we can formally memorialize the discussion with the landowner without doing letter of violation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm
Kim,
happy
I
to
don't
follow
know.
up with a memo. Yeah, I can issue
Yeah,
a memo and provide it for the landowner and keep it in the public files so that if this does happen again, yeah, we can say
You can
for
point to
our
that,
discussion
right?
and this, yeah.
Yeah, good recommendation, Matt. Yeah, why don't we do that, Kim? Send them a letter, kind of memorializing the discussion. So if it happens again, as you said, we can say, here's the letter we sent you last year. It happened again. I think that's good. Okay. Questions or comments from the audience? All right. Vasha 29 Woody Island Road. This is a project change request. Mr. DeWolf, are you still with us?
Robin Bacchus here. I don't know if Doug's with us or.
Yep, I think he is. I see him on the. So how you doing, Robin?
I'm doing well, thank you. Doug warned me he wasn't too keen on the Zoom technology, so he'll get us there. Hold on.
Here, I think.
I can hear him.
All right.
I think you need to put your volume up a little bit, though, Mr. DeWolf.
It's a miracle that I'm on this thing. Anyways, I see you.
Yep. Can you just put your volume up a little bit? We can't really hear you too well.
Say yes. Yes. How's that?
It's about the same.
I'm working on it.
So while Mr. DeWolf is getting his sound together, I can kind of just tee this up quickly for the commission.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah. So the commission very recently, I think like last meeting, approved this notice of intent at 29 Woody Island Road. It was a proposed deck and then repairs to the retaining wall that is functioning as the bank to Lake Maspinock. And then a small restoration area, lakeside landscaping area. So since the passing of the order of conditions, or the issuance of the order of conditions rather, Mr. Vacha has onboarded Mr. DeWolf with New View Construction, and together they've come up with some changes to kind of the vision and what to do with that wall. So I think that's what they're here to present today. So their question is this something that the commission feels comfortable approving under a minor plan change, and or would the commission require an amended order?
Thank you for teeing that up. Mr. DeWolf, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me now?
Barely, but go ahead.
Maybe that's the best we're gonna get.
All right. So there's two walls on the original plan. There's a bigger wall on the bottom that's closest to the lake. And then there's a second wall that's about halfway to the house. And what we propose to do, leave the bottom wall as is, but in one portion right in front of the house, we wanted to raise that up because there's, from the second wall in, the land slopes towards the water between the two walls. And we wanted to raise the bottom wall up so that's flat now. And the water won't be running off of that into the water. It'll flatten out and slow down. And I wanted to move the second wall in closer to the house. That's really the change. Just get that second wall in close to the house. What happens is that makes it nicer for Robin's family. They'll have a little bit more space to be able to maybe put a stone patio or something like that to be able to put more plantings, and they can make this space more usable for the family. But the other thing it does is it also allows us to make a flatter area so that when the water's coming down, it's a natural runoff, and it comes down and it hits that flatter area, it will slow the water down as well. And I think that's it. I mean, that's the change. Now that we're also eliminating one set of stairs. He has two current staircases, and they're over there. You can see that's one of the staircases over on the bigger wall. It's unnecessary. If he has just one really nice staircase down, I don't think they need much more than that. I'm not telling him what he needs and doesn't need, but they're close together. They're within, I don't know, 10 feet of each other. So it seems silly to have two sets of stairs. I would also add that he could have a little bit more space for family in that area. So I kind of put the staircase centrally located in that area, square it off with the house, just trying to organize the space. The bottom wall stays exactly on the footing. We don't go any closer. It's exactly where it is. But like I said, we're going to raise it 2 to 3 blocks up, cinder blocks, and that will take care of leveling it off. And all that requires, then I'm going to bury the bottom wall essentially of the middle wall, the one that's closest to the house. That'll be a smaller wall. It'll just be shorter. So nothing changes really. If I raise the bottom one, that one makes that shorter, and it works better for the layout. That's basically what it comes down to.
So just for clarification, Mr. DeWolf, the lower wall closest to the lake will be removed by hand and replaced, correct? So
yes, with stone. We're not going to remove it by. We got what we're going to try to do. The big section close. Let's say as you're looking at this drawing, the wall that's over to the left, that's quite tall. It's probably 7 or 8 feet tall. I'm going to try to excavate the back of it, close, inside the wall, and that way when I grab it with, we have a mini excavator with a thumb, and we'll take that because really that's not a hand thing. There'll be guys there by hand as well, but of course we'll put straw wattles and all that kind of stuff to protect everything. But if I can excavate, I can't promise that I can do it, but that's what we're going to try to do. Excavate behind the wall so that when we grab a hold of the wall, we can pull it in away from the water. It's going to be easier for construction to do that as well. I can grab it, swing the arm around, put it right in the truck. All those cinder blocks have disintegrated. They got to be 40 years old, and cement doesn't last forever. So we're going to throw all of that stuff away, and then bring in better, new gravel and stuff like that to backfill the wall when we complete it with stone. And then the wall goes right on top of that, and it's going to be a thicker wall because when you make stone walls, when you have a big wall like that, it's usually half the distance, half of the height. Say you have if this is going to be 10 feet, but it's easy for math. 10-foot wall is 5 feet deep on the bottom. So when you build it like that, it becomes a pyramid, and the wall cannot lean forward. I mean, I haven't had one fall down yet. They don't fall, because the weight of all the backfill on it holds it in place. And we'll probably shoot some rods into the existing footing. Footing seems to be in great shape. It was a solid pour. We'll do some rods and that. We put rebar in the wall. When they're big like that, we do a lot of stuff. It's very embarrassing if a wall falls down. So you try to do everything to make sure that doesn't happen. And so that's what we do. A lot of it by hand, but we will use machines as well. The wall, as you go over to where you see the staircase in this drawing, that wall's not that tall. A couple, 2 or 3 blocks up off of the footing. So more than likely, we'd probably have the guys by hand in there doing that because it'll go faster than using a machine. Anyways, that's that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. DeWolf. Let me open it up to questions, comments from commission members.
Through the chair, this is Ed. Is this done, so to speak, at low water?
I'm sorry?
Will this be done when the lake level is dropped some so the water's not right at the wall?
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna let it go out all the way. I mean, they're supposed to let the dam. I don't think they've released the dam yet. This is just the lake's down now, but it's just like natural down low. and they're gonna drop the water level pretty soon. And I think, sometime before Christmas we'll start. I know it's critical that the bottom wall and the staircase gets done over the winter. It'll be protected. I'll have the guys clean up the site every day. We'll have straw wattles protecting everything. And then we'll clean up every day, like I said. But the bottom wall is the only one that's the one you got to get done. And you got to make it solid. It can't never happen again. Stone doesn't go away. It's not like concrete. That was a cheaper thing to do back in the day, And then we get that done. Then the upper walls, if I didn't get it done, say we have a tremendous winter. We haven't had one in a while, but we're due. Well, then sometimes, you can't, I might not get the second wall done. This is a pretty good sized project. I'm more than confident that I'm going to get everything done, not the patios or anything like that, or stone patios or anything like that, or gardens or plantings, but the wall should be done for sure, for certain, over the winter. Famous last words, right? But the second wall is going to be is not imperative. The bottom wall we'll get it done before they start raising the water. I mean, we have to do that. Anyways.
That's it for me.
What's that?
I said, that's it for me. Thank you.
Hey, by the way, the stairs on the water are going to be stone as well, but they're not going to be pieced together with stone. They're going to be solid granite, one piece, 10 feet long. We'll put those in. We do need a machine for that, but the guy won't go near the water. He'll be up top. And we'll put those solid pieces of granite that we stack together. We build them into the wall on both sides. They'll be cemented in place so they can't slip forward or anything like that. There's no repairs generally ever. And those will be solid stone. So, the water really does play havoc on stairs. And if you make them solid, you just don't have to worry about it. So that's what that's going to be.
Okay.
Hey, Josh, it's Jim.
Yep. Go ahead, Jim.
It sounds like a good plan to me, and I just want to say thanks for coming in and presenting it to us, the changes that you're thinking about. As for how we deal with it, I'm not sure whether we just do it as a minor project exemption or not.
Yeah. So, Kim, what's your kind of thoughts on that? Is this a project change request, or does it reach the threshold of an amended NOI? What are your thoughts there?
Two questions. First one on the merits. I was just wondering, the original order of conditions had a restoration area in it for, we're encouraging lakeside homeowners to maintain vegetated, restored areas to provide buffers on the edge of the lake. So I know that the new plan has, it looks like some vegetated areas. Was there any calculations done is it 1-to-1 area to area, or are we losing kind of vegetated areas to lawn on the new proposal?
No, you have more vegetation areas now I did give you a landscape plan, but I did it right at the end, and I don't know if you got it. So we do, it's mostly, there's a couple plants that I put in that are not native New England, but most of it is native New England shrubs. There's a couple plants that are like up close to the house, like there's a hydrangea called blue jangle. It only gets 18 inches tall. It's blue. It's a really great looking plant. And when that's in the planter, that wall that's up close to his deck, he won't lose the view of the lake because that'll just kind of trim the bottom of it. It'll soften it all up. But most of this other stuff, I've got like viburnums and winterberry, a lot of low bush blueberries, high bush blueberries, things like that. I was going to use a couple of Annabelles over above the tall wall because I think that's going to become a native New England plant. That's called a mountain hydrangea, and that's a really really cool plant, and it is going to be a native New England, I think. But and Robin, he really likes this stuff. So you've got a lot more plantings now than you had before. He had actually lawn in between those walls and stuff. I mean, it was a crappy lawn, but it was lawn, and so somebody was mowing it, and we turned. I bet you I doubled beds And he's not opposed to doing more, but I don't think he has to do more. The whole waterfront now is going to be is plantings. It's going to look really pretty too. All the low bush blueberries and stuff. That's going to be beautiful, and it'll be fun for the kids and stuff too.
Yeah, Kim, I think it's slightly more plantings, and we are committed to no grass or anything in the area. It moves the plantings to the lakeside, right? We had the gravel path in the lakeside, but the wall goes up a little bit so that the front, so it moves all the plantings to the lakeside, which I think is nice.
Jeff, may I ask a question along the lines of Kim's maybe?
Absolutely.
And I'm sorry if it's already been answered, but just eyeballing it, there may be more plantings. Are there more plantings between, I don't know how to categorize it, between the patio and the lake? It looks like there are fewer plantings between the patio and the lake than there were. And I think what we've been trying to do is have a solid buffer of plantings between the lake edge and then wherever people hang out. And it looks like that may have gotten smaller, even if the plantings close to the house give us more total than what we previously approved. Does that make sense, my question?
Yeah, I think it's if you yeah, it might be it's really close to the same Ted. It might be just slightly smaller, but if you go back to the drawing, you get more green space. But I get your spot. There was we originally approved the path along the lake, and then you had a section, but the width of that section at the lakeside and the width is pretty close. Not, it might be a little bit smaller, but not substantially small, I don't think.
Okay.
I think they're about the same.
Yeah, it's about the same.
You got above the wall, which is not going to be native because I wanted to use a different kind of hydrangea. But then you get below the wall, and then you got above the wall on the lake, and all of those are 4-foot beds. I mean, there's a lot of plantings there. It's the big thing is pushing that wall back as close to the deck as we can possibly do it, and still make it look good. And I think you end up with it the same or slightly more, and then you definitely get more because you expand to both sides, and you beef it up on both sides. So it goes from edge to edge. You'll have quite a bit of planting, especially on the right and left side. It gets, you'll be able to do some thick plantings there.
Okay.
So the chair, along those same lines, yeah, it looks like we have more width of green space because the old one didn't have plantings sort of looking to the left of this plan in front of where it says sort of proposed deck and the little square pavers. But I guess if you want to call it the filter strip in the front does look like it's skinnier because I'm looking at the old plan and it looks like it goes from the grading marker like 86 to 93, and then in the new plan it's only going to like 90 or something. So it does look it does appear skinnier if I'm reading the plans correctly. But it's it's wider, but it's not as deep.
Yeah.
So I guess I don't know for the lake, for these purposes, what's better, having it wider across the expanse of the property or having a thicker filter strip.
But it also moves to the lakefront too, which wasn't in the old plan. It moves to facing the lake. It's closer to the lake, I guess.
Through the chair, just one quick question. The area
go ahead, Matt.
of the porous stone dry laid patio that looks like it has, this maybe square pavers. What's that area intended to be?
I wanted to, when we get to the landscape plan, and we're going to have to do that and get it approved, that you guys like it and all that kind of stuff. It isn't completed. I did some ideas with plantings and stuff. I was hoping that we could do something like edibles. We already have low bush blueberries, but we could do raspberries. There's some herbs that are pretty cool that are native New England and stuff like that. You know, I was hoping to do something like that. No grass. It's all going to be, you know, plantings and stuff. But I thought that might be a cool, a neat area to do something different than the same old stuff. I get tons of low bush blueberries, and that's going to look really good. It'll be a great fall color and stuff, and you know that'll be really thick. You're not going to walk in that. But I don't know. I was just thinking that might be fun. Even to put like a cherry tomato plant in there for the kids and stuff, that kind of a thing, or grow beans on the back wall. I don't. That's kind of the fun stuff that you do in the summer. Everybody does in pots and stuff on the lake. But I was hoping to be able to do that. But if you guys want something different, you could do. There's a lot of things. We just would like it to be good looking, you know. So
those areas.
You know.
Yep. Sorry. Go ahead, Matt.
So that area is intended to be plantings, not square pavers.
Well, the square pavers are just stepping stones to get into a garden that might be a usable garden, you know, a garden that you might plant something that's like, for instance, edibles. If you did raspberries, there's a thornless raspberry now that they've come out with. And that's really cool. No thorns. It's very cool. You could get it on the wall. That would be neat, but you got to get into it. You got to be able to walk into it and stuff. So there's just some cool stuff, ideas. I would obviously, you know, present it and talk to Kim about it, make sure you guys were okay with it. But instead of, and so I quite haven't figured out, I was talking to Robin about it. There's some nice ideas. He's got 3 kids. So I was thinking that might be a fun thing to kind of play with. But if you guys didn't want it, if you wanted, say you could easily just take the stones out and put more blueberries in there or raspberries. Raspberries are native New England too. They're black raspberries are native. I would push to go red raspberries so that you could get rid of the thorns. And there's some other stuff that's that you could put in there and just get rid of the stones. And then the kids are going to have to trample it down to kind of get through them to get the berries. You know how that works, and that kind of stuff. Or just do it plantings. You know, you could get like the Annabelle hydrangeas that are above that. You could pull those right down in there and make those Annabelles come across. Or you could use the Mount Laurels. You might even be able to get enough. I show 3 red buds. It would be a great spot for another red bud there. You could, you know, that would be really a cool tree to put in that space.
Yeah,
Anyway.
thank you. That's helpful to clarify what those are. I think my concern and why I was asking those questions is we've gone from a prior plan that was mostly greenscape, and I think we were looking to remove some patio to what appears to be a much larger stoned area between the house and the lake. So that would be my concerns. It seems like we're losing green space. I see there's an improvement in the plantings along the perimeter, which is great. But I'd be concerned about, you know, what's shown right now in terms of the footprint of pavers relative to the prior approval to consider it as administrative. I think we would want to revisit this.
It's also a porous patio. That's going to be all dry set on stone sand, and it's travertine, and travertine is very porous. The water goes right through it. Certain colors do better than others. They're more porous, but so we were trying. The stepping stones too would be like a travertine patio, maybe like an 18 by 18 stone, but the water goes right through it. So, and then we'll put all gravel underneath that because that's going to be lifted up now. It's not going to be the slope anymore. So we put something that would really let the water go and percolate in and try to let that go that way instead of running off.
Okay, so I think in the interest of maybe I can make a suggestion here. In the interest of moving this along, is in that area where you're talking about putting the raspberries in, where they have the square pavers.
Yep.
Maybe I don't know how the commission feels about this, but maybe we don't put the pavers in there or the stone squares, but just make that all vegetated with native material, blueberry, raspberry. The kids can still go in there and maybe you put a little stone, crushed stone path or something that they have to walk on. But I don't know.
You could walk on the mulch too. I mean, that's what it would be.
I don't know. I guess let me just throw that out there and see what Matt Matt had a comment about that, but what the other commission members feel.
I like that idea, Jeff.
Yeah, it's the same here. It just seems like we went too far away from the greenscape on this particular proposal.
Robin, are you good with that?
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I do think, Matt, if I could, I do think there's more green on this one because that whole left area we're making green now. That wasn't on the previous plan, right? So everything from the stairs, none of that was green. If you were that none of that was green on top of the top left wasn't green that we're adding. We just had that one strip of green behind right there. So I do actually think I'm okay with taking out those pavers, but I do actually think this plan has more green space in it because we're taking the whole left area, making it green. I think Janine's point was, hey, that area was a little bit thicker than what you got. I think that's probably true there, but we do move it to the lakeside is the plan. So and again, for what it's worth, for the rest of that area that you see up in we're not going to make this big lush fertilized green lawn or anything. That's not what we want. But we do want to at least have a spot that we can sit on the lake. That deck is only 3 feet. Is only 3 feet wide. It's just wide enough to have a landing off of the front sliders. So because we didn't want to build closer to the lake. So it does respect the offset. The deck respects the offset to the lake completely, which is why it's shaped like it is. So we just wanted to have a spot. So
no, that makes sense.
I would be okay, Mr. Chairman, if we did a crush path or something over to that left side.
Yeah, I think that would be the commission's desire. If that makes sense. And we appreciate you kind of to the west side, increasing the green over in that area, eliminating that one staircase. So I think if we eliminate those square pavers on that one section to the left and just make that vegetated with either a mulch path or crushed stone path or something, to access the raspberry or blueberry bushes, that would be the commission's preference. Does that make sense to everyone?
I'm good with that.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah. Through the chair, I do think that makes sense. As I'm thinking through this, just one other potential option to balance this out and give Robin a little bit of flexibility here. The area on the east side of the stairs there, where it kind of bumps back down towards the wall, I could see a situation where potentially you go from that corner, basically right where Kim's drawn right now, and you widen up that vegetation to losing the pavers to get to the raspberries and blueberry bushes. I just think it's finding that balance between the green space and the amount of pavers that are out there. And I do think this plan presents well. And I'm looking at it more through the lens of, is this administrative or is this require an amended order than it being a bad plan? I think it's a good plan.
Through the chair.
Yep. Thanks, Matt. Yep. Go ahead, Kim.
I just have 2 additional questions. Are there any special conditions or requirements that the commission would want to consider, given that the original proposal, and speaking about the wall that is adjacent to the lake, was to kind of repair, and now we're not replacing footings, but we're replacing footings up. So obviously the earthen material behind the wall is now, needs to be excavated and replaced and would be unsecured for a period of time. I'm just thinking out loud about kind of like erosion and sedimentation. And then the second question is more regulatory in nature, but I think when the commission reviewed this project originally, they found that the wall was functioning as bank, but that the repairs were not considered to be impacts based on their scope. And I just wanted to confirm that that was still the case.
Yeah, Kim, I think the latter would certainly still be the case, right? Because we're only going up, so we're not going down. So, I mean, I think the bank stays intact, doesn't move at all. Footings don't change at all.
Through the chair.
Yes, go ahead, Matt.
Kim, it may be worth a special condition that documents that the new wall limits do not extend beyond the existing wall limits in terms of going towards the water. So you're not having an impact to land underwater or adjusting bank in a negative way.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. Certainly having a condition memorialized in an order is only an option if we open the order. But yeah.
That's the only thing that jumped out to me was, the possibility of having impacts to land underwater. And up to that point, I don't notice it on this plan, but is the dock coming out or is the dock staying? It shows up on the landscape plan, but it's not shown on this plan.
Yeah, it comes off of the staircase, the one staircase, there's a landing, and the dock will come off of there someplace. Probably in the center of that 10-foot opening. And it's going to be it'll connect to the water height. Those aluminum docks, they adjust, and whatever step is just slightly above the water level, then that's where the dock would come off. And they're all portable docks. They're just getting back to the wall. There's not a piece of that wall that's worth keeping. Not one piece. Those cinder blocks are 40 years old. They're completely rotted. And if you rip that up, you can only have one shot coming in one side of the house to get to it. And you should Robin should replace the whole thing and be done with it. If he does stone, he'll never have to do it again and just get it done. And I know it's a big nut, and I was kind of embarrassed to even give him the price. But I said, that finishes it. You're not coming back to this. The other thing is I gave you a kind of a construction detail. I would do the wall in pieces. I wouldn't take it all down. I would do that real tall part that's falling down right now. That's going to end up in the water in another, I can't believe it's still standing. So we'll take that down, excavate behind it so that we can pull it away from the wall and then straw wattle that whole area. Have my guys build that first. It's a big piece. They build that, they clean it up every day. And you don't expose the back of it, and except for when you're working on it. Then you backfill it complete when you're done. You put in the topsoil for the new planting bed. You move the straw wattle up to the top of the wall after you backfill it all, and you put the wattle in. If you want a silt fence, you can do that, but you don't need it. Put the new wattle up on top of the wall. Then you move to the next section, which would be the staircase area. And you would build that whole section complete. You'd make sure that as you went down, you weren't exposing yourself to a disaster that could happen. If you do the whole thing, you're never going to get to the other end. If it's a bad winter, it'll be months maybe. That can happen to you. So you do sections so that you can protect it, and you can protect, the lake and the shore and all that stuff as you go.
Yeah.
You just have guys at the end of the day pick up, just pick up your area. And it's a small area to pick up. It's 20 minutes at the end of the day, they'll pick it up. And
No, yeah, that makes sense. So a couple things. So to Kim's earlier point, I think since that lower wall is being completely, removed down to the footing, and there's going to be excavation done, particularly to the left side. I think we need to have erosion controls in place. In the event that there's a significant rain event or something like that during the construction phase, that, stuff doesn't wash out down into the lake area. So that was one thing. The second is, so I heard that the wooden dock is going to be replaced with an aluminum dock. Is that correct?
No, that's not part of the plan now. I wasn't going to touch that dock at all. I was going to leave it. I don't know, Doug, did you have a different thought?
Well, Well, I don't know if it lines up with where the location of the stairs are. I mean, we can certainly wiggle it around and stuff, but I mean, my kids got those aluminum docks and they're great. I mean, they're really terrific, and you can put it wherever you want. You take it out. They're light as a feather. They take them out. Two of my kids can take it out by themselves, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They look like wood on the top, and they're really easy. And you just put it up on the lawn for the winter, and it doesn't get damaged and stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I guess the point being, if the intent is to replace the wooden dock, then that would rise to the level of that would have to be a permittable. We would have to permit that as part of the process, and there would be a chapter. It's a Chapter 91 permit, Kim, correct? That would need to be filed with the DCR, I believe it is, Department of Conservation and Recreation. So Robin, you just have to keep that in mind, if you're planning on.
Yeah, for sure. That's right. Yeah, for sure. I understand. If I go into the water, I mean, we're trying to be really careful not going into the water. So we 100% comprehend. If we go into the water, we got to get a Chapter 91. So that I fully understand. We'll make sure we do that.
Okay.
But we're
all right.
trying really careful not to go into the water, right? To just keep the footprint exactly as it is, and
got it.
And try to go away from the water. Kind of what we're trying to do.
Right. Okay. So I guess, in my mind, kind of the outstanding question is, project change request or amended NOI on this. So Kim, Joe, Matt, what's your guidance for the commission?
For me, because of the changes and the excavation needed to accommodate the changes, it just kind of tips the scales for amended order. I think it's very permittable. I think it's a good project, but I think it just needs to be adequately documented and, with conditioned so that, we can be sure that it's carried out successfully.
Maybe we can work that construction sequence into it too, because that seems to be a big part of the erosion control plan.
You have that letter that I gave you, right?
Yep, I do, Doug.
Oh, something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought process too, Kim, is, I understand that, Robin and Mr. DeWolf want to move forward with this, but I think, my sense is that it kind of rises to the level of, given that that lower wall is being, completely removed, as opposed to repaired, which is what we contemplated under the original order. There are a couple sections where it was, it was going to be repaired, but now it's completely being removed. The amended NOI is the, kind of proper way to go on this. And, it's a fairly straightforward amendment, Robin. And I think that
does it require like the public notice and everything? Do I have to do the whole butter thing again? And
yeah, unfortunately,
we're gonna miss our. I mean, I won't be able to do it. I'll probably just go back to the old plan because I'll miss my. I won't be able to. By the time I'll miss my cycle this year, right? Because you got to do it when the lake's down. Can I ask?
I mean, you'll still be able to do it. The lake, once they release the water, the drawdown is through, close to the end of February, beginning of March.
Yeah, but you can't do when it snows. Yeah, it can. I guess there's not a whole lot I can do here, but
Yeah, just unfortunately, because the scope changes, fairly, again, we're talking about the wall replacement as opposed to a wall repair. So,
I probably won't convince you, but again, we're not changing the footings. I mean, it is in the exact same spot, which again, I probably won't convince you guys, but it is what it is. But we're keeping we're keeping that lakeside wall. I mean, that's exactly what we were planning to do in the first plan, to keep that lakeside wall. We're building it up a little bit to control the erosion going into the lake, and just pushing back that retaining wall closer to the deck. Just to open
we understand what you're doing. It's just with the replacement of the wall, there's more excavation that's required as opposed to a repair. So, we get what, I think we all comprehend, what the scope change is on this. And it's unfortunately, because of the significance of the change in the scope of work, it's not just a project change request. Again, we have to defer to kind of Kim's direction. She's the expert on the administrative, on the filing requirements. So yeah.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, Jim. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Just wondering, and I definitely agree that the change is more significant than I originally thought. Can this all be done for the 5th, for the next meeting?
I don't think so. Kim, correct? I mean, they would have to, with the abutter notification. I mean, it could be possible, but it would have to be done fairly quickly.
Through the chair. Zed?
Yep.
So if they were repairing this wall and a large portion of the wall collapsed, what would our reaction be? They're repairing the wall, part of it collapsed. Do they then have to come back and say, whoops, we need to refile because part of the wall collapsed? I think we're, what's the word? Swallowing a Campbell and stretching out a gnat. Anyway, I think we're going overboard, my opinion.
That's a good point, Ed. And also, Jeff, if it were to collapse either because of repair or would collapse just because it's so deteriorated, it's all going to fall down towards the lake, right?
Yeah, but I think the point is that it's not a repair; it's a replacement.
When you repair that wall, a lot of the blocks, I don't know if you looked at it closely, but they're cracked and stuff. You're going to excavate to repair it. You're going to excavate the back of that wall. You can't just pull a block off and put it back in. You have to take them off. You got to get behind it. You got to mortar it up. If you're going to repair it and put it stone, even if you're going to put blocks back, which would be the wrong thing to do, you would never put 8-inch blocks in. They're really narrow. They're not structural. So you're going to have to dig out anyways. I mean, when you're repairing a wall, you're going to dig out the back of it. You just got to be conscientious about how you do it and make sure that you're paying attention and you do small pieces at a time that you can control. And as long as you do small pieces and have the guys pay attention, you'll control it. You won't have to, you're not worrying about it. But either way, repair or replace, you're excavating the back of the wall all the way, because this crack and cinder blocks completely disintegrating in that wall. So it's a can of worms. As soon as you stop playing with it, they're all going to fall apart.
Through the chair.
Yes, Ted.
I feel for the applicant, but I think the bottom line is the plan of proposed work has changed significantly. And I think we need to keep with precedent and follow Kim's advice. I feel for the applicant. Had we 2 weeks ago had this plan in front of us, we could have approved it then. But that's not the way things work. And we're being presented with a significantly different plan now because of the reconstruction, not just repair.
Yeah,
So Jeff,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, what exactly do we want them to submit? We're asking for this.
I think it needs to be an amended NOI, Jim.
Yeah, but so a new plan, obviously. The construction sequence scope, right?
Mm-hmm.
And any additional controls that this work might require.
Correct.
What else do we need? Anything else? And this plan that we have now would be the plan that they would be submitting?
With erosion controls added to it, yes.
And the
And
dock.
the description. Go ahead, Matt.
I say just and the dock shown. I'm not convinced the dock lines up with these stairs. I think it would be important for the applicant and his contractor to confirm what the plan is for that particular piece of the project.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Robin, does that make sense?
Through the chair?
Yes, Kim.
We could sneak Mr. Vatra on the meeting for the 5th if he and his representatives are able to provide those materials, I would say by noon on Thursday, this Thursday. And the abutters list that was provided in the NOI is valid for 2 more days. So if Mr. Vatra is able to get the abutter notifications out and provide all the appropriate materials within the next 2 days, we could probably get him on the 5th. It's a tall order, but
yeah. So the amended
possible.
the amended NOI would need to be submitted to you within the next 2 days.
Mm-hmm. And the notifications would need to go out to the abutters.
And the notification to the abutters. So, I mean, it is possible to get it in.
Plan's easy, right? Because you have it already. I just need to put in erosion control, or show that on the plan. And then you have the construction detail of whatever you called it.
Sequence, yeah.
You have that already. So, and I gave you a landscape plan. You didn't actually, I don't think you needed that yet, but if you wanted to, I could put the erosion control on that as well and stuff like that. You can have that as well. But I could get that plan for you tomorrow.
Yeah, just you need to work out, what's going on with the dock. That would be the last piece, as Matt had indicated.
Yeah.
And Jeff, just a reminder about the pavers where the raspberry blueberries are.
Yeah, take those out. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we'll get those off the plan. Figure out the dock, put the erosion control in, and you already have the construction detail or whatever. And then Robin will have to see if he can get his abutters list to do that. We'll talk about the dock, Robin and I, and try to figure out what how that's going to work.
Okay.
And
right.
through the chair, I just quickly
yeah.
would want to point out to Robin that even if you show a dock, but you decide not to put it in right away, your permit's valid for 3 years and then can be extended. So if you think that there's something that you might want to do at the property while you have a permit open, our recommendation is always to show it. And, better to show it and then do it or not do it later. So just a recommendation.
The aluminum dock, you don't need a permit, correct?
You do need a dock for a new permit.
You what?
Yes, you do need a permit.
For the for aluminum dock, because that's not permanent. It comes out.
The history of this commission has been that they have permitted those docks under notice of intent.
The aluminum ones, even though they remove them every fall.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it does also require the Chapter 91 because it's a Great Pond.
Okay.
Jeff.
Yep. Go ahead,
Okay,
Jim.
just I think if they propose anything to do with the dock now, then that's gonna completely there's gonna be a lot more work for them to do administratively. So it'd be best for them not to propose a new dock right now and do that separately, right?
No, they can, if they want to do something with the dock, they can propose it as part of the NOI. And as Kim had mentioned, they have 3 years to do it, or they can request an extension. The Chapter 91 can be, permit can be submitted, after the NOI is approved.
Okay. So that wouldn't hold them up then, okay.
Yeah, that wouldn't hold them up.
He could, even if that dock doesn't line up, they could leave that dock in the water where it is, and then put on a plan what we wanted to do to straighten it out. And you have 3 years to do that and put your applications in and whatever you call the numbers and stuff. Is that what you were saying?
Yep.
That doesn't hold anything up. I get you. All right.
Okay. So Robin, did you have any additional questions?
No, I'm thoroughly confused at this point. So I appreciate the.
So, okay, we have a few more minutes here. How can we clarify? What are you confused about?
Yeah, I guess I got to figure out how to do the amended NOI, right? That's the.
Robin, I'm happy to connect with you tomorrow and help you through it. I promise it's not as long or complex as going through the original process. So
okay.
Yeah, we can definitely connect on that and I can talk you through it. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, just so if you can contact Kim tomorrow, because you have a short time frame if you want to get in for December 5th.
Okay. I do appreciate everyone's feedback. So thank you.
And we apologize for having to put you through, or kind of make you jump through a few more hoops here. If we had this plan as part of the original filing, it would have made it much easier. But or much more efficient, maybe not easier. But again, a wall replacement versus wall repair is a significant change in the scope of work, which is really kind of driving the amended NOI. So
yeah,
okay.
I understand that. That's fair.
Yeah. So apologies there, but okay.
I'm just doing your job. Trust me, most people in Hopkins would trade my problem right now for theirs. I got a beautiful spot in this lake. I'll get it figured out.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
One last parting word of wisdom. It is always better to beg for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
That's not Ed,
bad advice, Ed.
That's terrible advice.
Yeah, we did bring out Kim and everyone to see it. So just for the record, before we even did it, we brought Kim out to see it. We were really trying to do it right.
Yeah. Okay. So if I get a motion to continue the hearing until okay, Kim, from an administrative standpoint, Robin's going to need to withdraw the NOI that's before us now, right?
No.
No.
So there's really no action needed on the part of the commission, because the commission's not going to issue a minor plan change. So really the only action, the next action required by the commission would be triggered by Mr. Vacha filing for the amendment.
Okay, so we don't need to vote to continue it to the 5th?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Robin.
Thank
and
you,
Mr. DeWolf.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good evening.
Right.
Okay. Kim, any public forum requests?
This
has been a long meeting for a short agenda.
That is valid. Just to make it a little bit longer, Anna very smartly pointed out to me that we have a 3-week jump because of the Thanksgiving holiday. So now I am going to request that you folks go back to the decisions that you made tonight and authorize me to sign documents on your behalf.
And I can list them all out if that is helpful.
Maybe we could do one big vote.
So it was Rebel Hill and Toll Brothers.
And the 2 extension permits and the certificate of compliance.
Got it. Okay, so
all of that. Beautiful motion.
All right, so if we can have Kim sign on behalf of the members present for the Rebel Hill LLC, the Toll Brothers 11 Fitch Ave. Okay, so the Rebel Hill LLC to finalize the denial. The Toll Brothers 11 Fitch Ave to close and approve the notice of intent. Prime Properties, the 1-year extension permit for the COC. Peter Pecoro Drive, the 1-year extension permit for the COC. And 25 Stony Brook, the issuance of the certificate of compliance.
Yes, please.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we'll do the roll call. Melissa?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you, Anna, for reminding us of that. Otherwise, we would have been in a pickle there. And were there any other public forum requests, Kim?
I'm not sure if Ed wanted to speak about leaf stumping or if we've had enough for tonight.
I think we've had enough for tonight.
Okay.
I think we've had enough for tonight.
Jeff, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
All right, in a
We'll
second.
your motion.
And we'll do the roll call. Melissa?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. All right, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thanksgiving.
Hey, everyone, have an awesome Thanksgiving too. Okay.
You too.
Yeah. Take care.
Yeah, good night, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.